Greetings students, Mr. Sanger here again. So in our last screencast, I told you we were going to begin this unit on meiosis and focus on this objective where we differentiate between haploid and diploid cells and relate those terms to gametes and somatic cells. The astute biology student might notice that I never even mentioned the words meiosis, haploid, diploid, gamete, or somatic cell. So, nailed it, right? Not to worry though, we're going to figure that out with this screencast using the review that we did in the last one. So this screencast is sort of focused on the life cycle. And so basically we're going to look at how did you become you? And not to worry, we're going to keep this at a PG-13 rating or lower. So most of the cells in your body we call somatic cells. Things like your skin cells, your fat cells, bone cells, blood cells. And if we were to look at how many chromosomes were in each of those, we would find that each of those different cell types have 46 chromosomes. So most of the cells in your body have 46 chromosomes, and we call them somatic cells. There are, however, one set of cells, one group of cells, that is different. And that group are the sex cells. Those, it turns out, only have 23 chromosomes. That's weird, right? So what's going on? Why do the sex cells have 23, but every other group of cells have 46? Well, to understand that, we need to introduce a couple of terms. So the first term is diploid. Diploid cells are cells that have two copies of each chromosome, a homologous pair. So most of the cells in your body, we've said, have 46 chromosomes, and we've seen this diagram, and they're arranged in pairs. So there's two copies of chromosome 1, two copies of chromosome 2, two copies of chromosome 3, etc. So we would say that these are diploid because there are two copies of each chromosome. Another way to think about it is you've got two copies of the skittle chromosome, right? You've got a red and a purple. So these are two copies of the skittle chromosome, and they are homologous, meaning they have the same type of information but are not identical. Okay? So diploid cells have both types of skittles, and we represent this as 2n, where n is the number of different unique chromosomes. So if this was all you had, we would say it's 2n is equal to 2, because there's two chromosomes, and in this case, n is equal to one type of chromosome, the skittle type. So you have one type of skittle, but you have the skittle chromosome, but two copies of it that are not identical. Okay? And now they're crumbling on me. So for humans, 2n is equal to 46. You also have what are called haploid cells. These are cells that have only one copy of each chromosome. We represent these simply as n, and for humans, n is equal to 23. So a haploid cell would only have one copy of the skittle chromosome. So they either have the purple or they have the red, but they only have one copy. Okay, so diploid cells have both kinds of skittles, haploid cells only have one. All right, so somatic cells then, this term to define this more thoroughly, are any cell in the human body that are not the sex cells. Examples are skin, bone, blood, nerve, stomach, pretty much everything except sperm and egg. Each cell is diploid, contains 46 chromosomes, arranged as 23 pairs. And in general, these cells use the process of meiosis to produce two identical daughter cells. And we've learned about mitosis and how one cell splits to become two. And then each daughter cell is exactly the same in terms of genetic material as the parent. Gamete cells, these are going to be the sex cells. They're oftentimes called gametes, sperm and egg. And each sperm and egg cell is haploid, which means they only have half the amount of DNA, one type of skittle. And each sperm and egg has 23 chromosomes, so there's no homologous pairs. So at this point, I want to pause and just kind of draw out the human life cycle. They're produced by a different type of cell division called meiosis. And so what I want to do is, before we get into that, I want to pause and look at the life cycle in a little more detail. Okay, so let's suppose you have a male adult and a female adult. Now, the male adult, we've already kind of discussed, most of the cells in that male adult are going to be diploid. where 2n is equal to 46. And most of the cells in that adult female are also going to be diploid, where 2n is equal to 46. Now, there are going to be a small number of cells, however, in that male. It's really not a small number, but a small subset, I guess, relative to the rest. Some of the cells in that male are going to be undergoing a process called meiosis. And in that process, those adult diploid cells are going to end up making the gametes. And in this case, the gamete is the sperm cells. And the sperm cells are going to be haploid, where n is equal to 23. Females, similarly, are also going to be carrying out this process called meiosis, and they're going to be making egg cells, which are also haploid, where n is equal to 23. So the somatic cells are diploid, but then they're also making these sex cells, these gametes, which are haploid. Now, if this male and female are at least 29 years of age, in a committed relationship, financially secure, and love each other very much, perhaps they may interact and produce a child. Okay? So I've already said that this process where we produce the sperm and egg is called meiosis. Okay, so that's this process where this chromosome number is cut in half from diploid to haploid. But then what can happen is the sperm will combine with the egg in a process, and I think you know this term, starts with an F, fertilization. You thought, shame on you. So this process called fertilization will occur. And then these two cells will come together to form a new type of cell, which we call a, sorry, I spelled that wrong, a zygote. And that zygote, because it's combining 23 chromosomes from sperm, 23 chromosomes from egg, it is now going to be diploid again, where 2n is equal to 46. And now that zygote, I'm using purple because it's sort of combining genetic material from sperm and egg. And eventually, this zygote is going to divide by the process of mitosis to become a new adult of 2n is equal to 46. And then that adult is going to go on and the process will continue. So let's go back and look at that a little more clearly. So this process of meiosis, what's happening is this, this is a new type of cell division that produces the gametes, that produces the sperm or the egg. And the end result is that the gametes only have half the number of chromosomes. So we're cutting the chromosome number in half. And the importance of this is it allows genetic material from a male and a female to come together without doubling the chromosome number every generation. Okay? So note that this is different from mitosis / the cell cycle, which is used to replace cells and for growth and things like that. So it's a different type of cell division used specifically to make gametes. Where does this happen? Well, in females, this happens in the ovaries, which are these structures here. And in males, it's produced in the testes. Interestingly, in males, they pretty much make sperm constantly, about 1,000 sperm every second from puberty until death. And in females, those eggs are mostly all present before she's even born, and then one egg is released each month from puberty until menopause. So there's kind of a difference in how each handles that. So again, the sperm and egg each have half the genetic material. In the case of humans, 23 chromosomes come from the egg, 23 come from the sperm, and they join together to form the zygote, which has 46 chromosomes. So the sperm and egg are haploid. The zygote is diploid. To see if you understand this, take a moment. Let's suppose for a fruit fly, it turns out they have 8 chromosomes in their somatic cells, which are diploid. How many chromosomes would be in their sperm cells? And then same for this, well, I'll tell you, it should be half, so 4. So the sperm of a fruit fly has 4 chromosomes, the egg has 4. They combine to form the 8. Try for this bull. How many chromosomes are in its sperm cells? And hopefully you answered 30. So the sperm has 30, the egg has 30, they come together to form 60. Okay. So once that zygote is there, then that fertilized egg is going to start to divide by mitosis. So that new cell is going to divide and form 2, the 2 become 4, the 4 become 8 to 16, and then slowly but surely it develops into a new person. Okay. Interesting little point about twins. For identical twins, what happens is in those first divisions of mitosis, the embryo actually splits apart, and then each half becomes a new baby, and they're identical. But in fraternal twins, for reasons no one fully understands, 2 eggs are released by the mother at the same time. Both are fertilized, and then you have genetically different babies. And that's why fraternal twins, you might have a male and female, but with identical twins, they're always going to be the same sex. So take a look at this picture. These represent a diploid cell with 3 homologous pairs of chromosomes. And so remember, you can kind of count the centromeres. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total chromosomes. So we would say this is a diploid cell. During cell division, when those chromosomes replicate, again, there's still 6 centromeres. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we still have 6 chromosomes total. And so we'd still say 2n is equal to 6. It's just if it's not replicated or replicated. And then note that each chromosome has that partner. So again, this is going to be the red skittle and the purple skittle, the brown Milky Way, the yellow Milky Way, etc. Haploid cells are going to look like this, where they just have 1 copy of each chromosome. So this has the blue, but not the purple. This has the purple, but not the blue, etc. Finally, just a quick little addition here, sexual versus asexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction is what we've been talking about, where genetic material from 2 individuals are combined. Sperm, egg come together in this process of fertilization. We're combining genetic information from 2 different sex cells, and central to this is meiosis, because meiosis is what cuts the chromosome number in half so that we can come back together to the whole again. So sperm plus egg creates a zygote. In asexual reproduction, this is just where your body cells can make new cells or replace damaging ones through mitosis. And then it just requires 1 parent cell, which is diploid, to split into a new diploid cell. So that's it. In later screencasts, we're going to dive a little bit deeper in how exactly meiosis works. Thank you.